We are very often entering in a completely new world.
Like decades can come and it's still right.
You can say timeless also.
So in reality, it's not that long. Even if we're talking about the yachts of like 40, 45, up to 50 meters. It perfectly fits your expectations, your family lifestyle. So it's designed especially for you. Welcome to Dynamiq Super Yacht Builders. I'm Sergey Dobrosodov, the founder and CEO of the company. And here we're sharing the secrets how to build your perfect super yacht, which will make you proud and happy for years to come. Today we're going to dedicate our video to the yacht design, as I do believe one of the main privileges of being wealthy is to create your lifestyle exactly as you want it to be. You know yourself perfectly and you should not follow mainstream. You should do exactly what you're thinking it's worth doing. And for this self-assured people, we create Dynamiq, and we're trying to find partners who think alike. Today, I stepped into this conceptual concrete built house in the middle of Austrian Alps to start a series of free videos with one of the strongest and the most prominent design houses in the world, Studio F.A. Porsche. In these videos, we'll try to explore how you can build your yacht, and the first video will be done here in the studio, describing the design principles and approach. Second video we're going to do in our shipyard in Antalya, where you're going to see how the construction of the boat can be made. And the third video will be done on board our 35-meter yacht Jabber, which we created together, where we can show to you exactly how this yacht can be built for you. I'm here today with Karsten, and I'm very happy to meet you, and thanks a lot for the invitation.
So first of all, thank you very much for the introduction. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm really looking forward for the next steps we would like to do together. I think it's a good idea to make this film together, to really understand how the process is and how we are approaching our work with a client that is coming to you. Just maybe shortly about the Studio F.A. Porsche. We are the industrial design part of Porsche, of the brand Porsche, caring for everything that is beyond car. So we can work for let's say, all over the world for different clients, but we are also working inside for the Porsche brand. So we are able to do in 360-degree field on all products, but always in the very top high level, exclusive and premium manner that is fitting the Porsche brand. So we are Porsche. The studio was opened in the early 70s by Ferdinand Alexander Porsche. He was the designer of the famous Porsche 911. He did then later also the Targa. He made sports cars like the Porsche 904, mid-engine cars like 914 and so. But he decided in the 70s to open his own company, went back to Austria and started here with a small team, dedicating himself completely on industrial design that can be small precious objects then to very huge and precious objects like we are talking about today.
Can you tell me about some key principles which you keep in studio and what clients gonna have in any case, regardless of the brief they give to you or they give to both of us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it's a very extremely important part for us. So the work we are doing together with a client.
Mm-hmm.
Every project we are getting here in the studio or that is requested to us is very personal. We are very often entering in a completely new world. We have a lot of experience from all the years, but we are really doing the work together with the client. So we are working as a team, giving our suggestions, our professionality, but then we go through the process. Our principles are following the Porsche Design DNA guidelines, let's say. Precious design, make design very simple, make it unique, maybe taking from all the things some elements away that it's really down to the necessary, and you're coming to an absolutely amazing pure design and object. It has to be for years and years. It has to be always look good, logic, perfectly shaped for all the years to come. Just giving a small example, when Ferdinand Alexander Porsche started his work, one of his first works was the Chrono 1. This is the watch that he very closely developed to the design instrumentation of the Porsche 911. So this is a classic today. It's an iconic because it's so simple, so clean, so pure, and it had a very, very pure way of looking also. And just last year, end of last year, we became, after 50 years, we became again the Red Dot Award for the best of the best.
Yeah.
So it's just unbelievable. So when you do the work right, and with the right passion and the right direction, there can be objects like this now. So it's fantastic and amazing to work in this direction with this, let's say, goal.
Yeah, I share this approach, and you're exactly right. It doesn't matter when the thing was done or when it was designed or when was the brief, but if it followed that principles, so if it was done with talent, say like decades can come and it's still right.
You can say timeless also, no?
Yeah.
So, but you have to take the time, and there again, back to the client, we would like to work together with the client to understand which direction, and then with our professional view, we can do the work together.
Yeah, and I think one of the main reasons of organizing this series of interview is to give an exact guidance to clients what they can expect, what you start with, how we develop the project, what are the timelines, what are the deadlines for making decisions, and because in this way we can develop a boat and build a boat. You can design it, we can build it in a relatively short time, and the project can be a great success. So the whole idea of this series will be to describe the process from A to B. Usually how you start to work, you have a dedicated team or you have like the design lead, how it's organized the project in the studio?
Yes, so what is important to say also, it really depends on the client, on the urgency of the project. Is there let's say a dedicated time? We say we have to be finished in a certain time, or we can take a little bit longer to also really enjoy it. We are able to do both, so we can be super fast and very effective. We have a dedicated team, mostly senior designers who are able to serve in all the industrial design field. And because of, like I said in the beginning, we have the experience of 360-degree design on all fields. So a lot of inspiration, forms, materials, technologies are coming, and we can support with this when we start a project. So normally we would like in the beginning to get to know the client very well. It's a very important part, like we call it first phase of the project, where we speak to each other and get to know the needs, the taste, and the perspective, where he would like to go to and what he would like to have in the end as a product, I would call it. Then we are starting to support from our side to give our view on the market, for instance, of taste and style. What are the new materials? What are the new trends? Form language. We call it design DNA first phase.
Yeah.
So then we bringing from our side the base to discuss again. So to meet a second time or third time with a client. This can be very intensive. And in this time we can also understand a bit better what are the steps to come. So we can work very short and compact with the time, or we can leave us a little bit. So the phases are normally this: getting to know each other, giving our feedback and giving a bigger picture.
Yeah.
There again, the client can interact with us and say, look, I'm seeing more this field, this is interesting. Can you do me a bit more research? Then we can go some more weeks in this direction. But then we are already starting to talk about dimension, and this is a point where we start to talk about the package. So to know what kind of dimension, both technical parts and what is possible and not. And then we are starting with our design proposals. Next steps will be also the work in 3D. So this is a phase where the client can already see the work drawn by us, making, we call it renderings, when you see things photorealistic, or you can see it in 3D, that you have already some data that can be shown around.
How long it can take from the first brief, from the first meeting, to getting these photorealistic renderings?
It is. It depends again
Roughly.
on let's say the type of product. We can, for smaller products, we can be already in 6 weeks. We could come to already 3D because our team of really skilled designers, they are all able to do the 3D work also, and all the renderings, mathematics. So we can come already in a few weeks to this point when it's a more, let's say, simple project. I would say we can talk about having steps maybe every month, having after 2 months or 3 months already a situation where we can speak about 3D volumes, seeing how the thing will look like. And then you go, and then later you go to more details and to all the refinement.
Well, in our situation, it really depends a lot. Either client is selecting one of the existing platforms, which we're going to fine tune or restyle with your help, or we're talking about completely custom model, which we're building from scratch. So I would say that we can design and build anything starting from 20 meters up to 70 meters in length, and depending on the, again, complexity and depending on how client is ready with the exact brief. Usually we would appreciate if you can do some initial design work, the DNA as you call it, within like 3 months. This is something good enough to understand if direction is right, and usually this is where clients are saying, okay, we're happy, or we're not happy, and maybe we will stop and think a little bit about that. But if it's all going good, after these initial steps as a shipyard, working with the naval architects, working with our technical teams, it usually will take us not more than maybe 4 or 5 months until we can even start cutting aluminium for the real construction.
Yes.
So altogether, I think it's absolutely feasible to start and finish this design and technical preparation works within a bit more than half a year. So in reality, it's not that long. Even if we're talking about the yachts of like 40, 45 up to 50 meters.
Yes.
And this is the beauty of it.
Yeah. But this, let's say, timing process is extremely important also for the client also to understand in which level of the process are we now, and that he also has the possibility to decide we're going in the right direction. I need to rethink a little bit. Oh, this is a good idea. You can go even further. So it's a very flexible process. No? But we need to have the time in the in our side, let's say. No? So
I can tell you one thing. Maybe it doesn't sound right, but you know, because we're also designing, and you know, sometimes it's not so easy to come to something you like yourself. It just doesn't work. I mean, and sometimes it takes just weeks until, because you're judging yourself probably in the most severe way. And if you don't like it, then it takes time. So, but sometimes some projects, like the one we did together, the 115, well, it just goes right from the very beginning. And everybody see, because everybody's pretty experienced, that it's the right way. And later on we can just fine-tune some specific things. We'll discuss it later, but the major stuff is coming like really fast, and that's good.
Yeah, the discussion on this project was also very nice for us, because the client also comes to you because you are building these beautiful boats, no? And then with the cooperation with us, the client already has a feeling of taste and direction where it will go, no? So this makes the direction already a bit more clearer, let's say. No? Important is always to say the yacht, the boat will not look like a car. It just has this DNA feeling of precision, exclusively, very special, unique, and it's just, it will work perfectly as a product. So serving the client. And in the discussion, you explained us also so many interesting details of how the customer is living on the boat, how he's using it, what is important, what not, and this all comes to the main development that we are doing together.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important parts that, okay, you can do whatever conceptual design, but it still follows Porsche DNA, which I like a lot. I really don't like all this, you know, numerous crazy details, which we see more and more. I really like this refined simplicity. But when you look at some details, you really understand it's not simple at all. It looks simple, but it's absolutely not. And important is that every decision you're taking, we're going to give you engineering support. So whatever you propose is feasible to build.
Yes.
Because the problems sometimes clients are facing, that there is a great, you know, design proposal, great sketches, but they're not done in scale. It's really hard to realize they are not following even some basic naval architecture study was not done. So what looks perfect initially on the paper, later on becomes completely something else after engineering is done. So being together between the shipyard and design studio gives a lot of confidence to all the stakeholders, basically, that the project will be realized exactly as it looked from the very beginning.
Absolutely, yeah.
So this is important. Also, what I like, if you can tell me what in what fields of industrial design you're working, because what we like to do, we consider our yacht as a platform where we can put all new technologies, all new, design solutions, new furniture, even like the mobile phones you're designing might be in hands of the customers on board, and that makes all this like a holistic approach which we can follow.
You just pointed out two very interesting fields, that is like furniture or architecture.
Yeah.
This is one field. And the other thing is when we talk about electronic goods, it's the user interface or the user journey with a phone, for instance. No? So most of industrial design products have a user interface today. They have something to interact with your phone or with a device. They have a screen and so on. No? This is now. No? So every coffee machine has a user interface today and so on. No? We are, like I said before, working in a very wide field. What I find extremely interesting, that because we are so connected to the car as Porsche, we are working on dynamic and moving objects. And this is something completely different to, let's say, a sculpture like a house. No? So we as designers have this feeling of a product in movement that you see in light and shadow, that is in different constellations. You have it in slow motion, you have it in speed, in dynamic, let's say. No? When we're working on architecture, that is also, let's say, in big scale. For instance, one interesting project is the Porsche Tower in Miami. This is like a building where there's also, as one feature, the elevator where you can drive in with your cars and bring them up to the apartments, to the private apartments. And we're now opening another Porsche Tower in Stuttgart.
Oh, really?
Yes, that is also connected with a dealer in the same area, and we have a lot of new requests and things coming on. But we are also working in private houses, in the apartments, and we are bringing the Porsche design, look and feel also inside the refurbishment of the apartments.
That's super cool.
How you're entering, how is your let's say, the user journey of arriving to the building, how is the welcome, how you go with the elevator and then coming to your apartment, to your world. So we're serving there the wishes of the client until the materials of the tiles, the roof, fabrics, everything. So there we're coming in to a point that is extremely important also for the yards, for the shipbuilding. We can care until the last detail that the customer feels home, and we can say in the Porsche world. So we can drive it. He gets 20% or 50 or how much it will be, but we can care for this very much. And for instance, here also we are sometimes selecting other brands that have a perfect fit with us. So we can also think about maybe adapting or taking one or the other product of them that will be integrated.
It's like an ecosystem of,
exactly.
Like similar design level or similar philosophy products, and that makes like incredible experience for the customer later on.
But always on the premium high level. No?
There's
a
what I'm
perfect
saying.
match between the brands. No? Like also say, like we are now sitting here together and thinking about this new possibilities we have. It's just a good brand match between how we can do products together. Yeah, maybe another point is then also, like you said, more in detail. We are working also for new phone generations. We just made with a big, very important Chinese brand, Honor. We made the new foldable phone now that was just brought on the market. And there, a phone is a square thing, no? And it has to work
I like
perfectly.
it, by the way.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you very much. Yeah. But there, the care to the detail is so essential.
Yeah.
It comes more or less to the level of jewelry. No? So in one case, super precious materials, the top of the top that is existing and possible to machine. In the other hand, it's a product for daily use that you have in your pocket that has to be perfect from the ergonomic feel, that has to have surprising details that you will think, my God, this thing is so cool. I'm so happy that I bought it. And you like it all the time long.
Very happy to meet you, Henning.
Yeah, nice to have you here, Sergey.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
Just try to imagine we're coming here with client. And what are the first questions you are asking to get to know the client better, to know the brief?
Well, I think it's definitely the first thing, as you mentioned, is that the client should come here or we visit the client, because it's all about getting the right atmosphere and understanding the client. So, of course, we ask the client the typical questions. What are his requirements? How does he want to use the yacht? Does he own a yacht before? So these typical things, and how big should it be? How many family members should live on the boat, and so on. So these are the, let's say, mandatory questions. But what is more important, or what is more interesting, is the conversation in itself, because then we find out where is the focus point of the end consumer, what he likes to mention, and when he gets into talking. And maybe therefore it's also better to visit the client, because then we see how he behaves, how he reacts, how his environment is, so what is important for him. So all these things which are on the side, the side information, is sometimes even more important than the regular questions, which are a mandatory thing.
Yeah, so you're trying to get to know the client more and his family, so to propose exactly what he likes.
Yes, so
what he might not even know that he
that's
might
a good question, because sometimes the clients, they don't know exactly what they like or what they want.
Yeah.
And some are really like specific, but even then, if they are super specific, in the process later, we take all this information and we rethink it, and we also question not just the project or ourselves, but we question the client, which might be sometimes surprising, but it's more surprising in a positive way, I would say. So when we start a project and we build up maybe some mood worlds and initial sketches and ideas, this is something where we still, maybe it can be seen as part of the briefing, where we still want to find out more about the client. But when we really go back and do the initial concepts, then we try to come up with ideas which are unexpected. So even if the client has a super specific requirement and maybe he chooses to have a design based on one existing architecture, then we try to combine these requirements, the existing architecture, and bring out something completely new and surprising to the client. And this is really the fascinating process, and the most fascinating event, then I would call it, is the presentation to the client, because then you see, is he really fascinated? Does he likes the ideas, or does he tend maybe to a more conservative idea, because we always present more than one ideas to have a better discussion then. But in our experience, and that's why most of the clients come to Studio F.A Porsche, is that they are looking for the for something new which fascinates them.
Yeah. And tell me how it works. Say, once you had this initial meeting, are you monitoring each project yourself and you have then design leads, or you are creating a team for each project and then you just monitor the progress? So how it's organized in the studio?
So it's always a team.
Yeah.
And at Studio F.A. Porsche, we have the philosophy that it's not like one maestro or something like that, but it's really the team effort.
Mm-hmm.
And myself as a design director, I see myself more as a moderator and giving inspiration and maybe asking the right questions. So thinking about what might the client ask or what might be critical questions. So I bring them into the process already, so that the process gets more lively and the team thinks maybe broader or in different directions with which they didn't do before, because maybe sometimes they are too close to the briefing, and then I see myself more like the inspiration giver or even disturbing the process.
All right.
And then bringing it all back together and do the communication to the client and try to communicate the design idea to the client.
So on a conceptual level, you're participating in every project?
Yes. So it's because every project contains a lot of discussion internally. And these discussions, of course, the team discussions, but then sometimes with my involvement to see, of course, how is the process or the progress, but also are we innovative enough or not, so to guide this.
Can I ask you a question, maybe like a silly one, but when you are considering the project, are you thinking about, I don't know, your current mood, your latest impressions, or you have to follow some latest design trends in the studio or like in the Porsche group? Or what are the inspirations? What moves you, so to say?
So I would say, of course, the team gets a lot of inspiration from the outside world, whether it's their personal free time, whether it's visiting any fairs or going shopping or just in their holidays. So this is all something which merges into the design process. But what is, I think, quite typical for Studio F.A. Porsche is that we don't look at trends and then filter what is the best trend or what needs to be done right now according to the
that's what I wanted to hear.
It's more like, okay, we know about it, but now we think about this project and we re-question it, and also we reconsider, is this a right trend? Is this a trend we should follow, or we should just be the opposite of the trend? Maybe this is also an option. And then with these kind of discussions, you come up with complete new directions. And this is what it's about, to rethink an object, whether it's a small product or a super yacht. So just rethinking it. And maybe then you get a better solution or a more fascinating solution. Maybe it's not the best yacht, but maybe it's exactly the yacht which fits to this customer. And this is our goal, to find the best, let's say, solution for this single project. And this can be within a trend or completely different.
Yeah, and that's what I like. I think it's so important to have your own opinion. It's so important to not just, to follow the trends, but to rethink them, and sometimes just to create something really unique. As almost everywhere we can see that there is like one or two companies who are pioneering, and then all the others are following. In our yachting world, it's like almost impossible to distinguish several brands or yards now, because there are like, up to 5-10 key designers and who are working for all the design for all the shipyards, and doing pretty much the same stuff, which is just nice, but it's nothing else but being nice, because from design point of view, it's it's not a novelty, it's just a copy. And
yeah, I mean, they are doing great jobs, and but I think what is typical for us is that we are not naval designers, or we are not medical designers, or not specifically furniture designers. Of course, we have the link to the car company, to Porsche. We have this engineering background, so this is more like our philosophy and how we approach projects. But one core idea is also that we have like the knowledge or the experience in so many different fields that we bring this inspiration together into new areas. And therefore, our task for ourselves, but why you approach us and why end consumers approach us, is that they want to have new solutions. And this is something I think why I personally think yachts are super interesting, because there are so many different levels. There's this first level,
they're combining all the aspects of life, and it's...
but also in terms of design and the recognition of the yacht. So, for example, the first or the initial idea is to have an iconic new design. So this is like what the owner wants, because as you mentioned, one yacht looks like the other, maybe. So it's the intention to have an outstanding design, immediately recognizable, but then this is somehow the, let's say, the guiding design idea for the rest of the process. So all the other things like the interior, the detailing, and there's a lot of detailing on such a project, they all follow this initial idea. And this is something which is very interesting, because then you see that it's one comprehensive project, and you can always refer on this initial idea, and this makes it so easy also together with the client. So whenever this decision for one direction is taken, then everything is based on that, and we can explain whether it fits or not fits, and this is what people understand and what the customer understands. This overall holistic design concept. So this is also what I mentioned before in our talk.
So it's a kind of design consultancy which you are given as well.
Just it's this communication about design to the customer, so that they don't fear to take too many decisions or to get an overload of
which
design.
Is well understandable, because sometimes people are not that savvy and they don't know much details about design, and sometimes they don't feel...
No, but they know what direction
they know what they
want.
want. That's important.
Finding this direction is the first step, and then executing this direction. And this is then definitely our task, and also working together with you, because you're the experts in manufacturing, like having an overview of the cost, what is possible, what kind of materials can we use. So this is then our task to bring this idea and make it realistic together with you, so that the client at the end gets a perfect result.
But what I like as well is just your idea to every time try to exceed the expectations, or propose something that people can't even imagine can be proposed or even thought in that direction, but you do, because this is precious. Otherwise, just to get another copy.
And this is something like, we call it, within our philosophy, we call it relevance. So this word, when you first hear it, it might be, what do they mean with relevance? But in design and in product development, we mean like that we want to concentrate on projects which bring a relevant factor to the market, to the end consumer, and is not just another boat or just another radio or just another phone. So it needs to add an additional either emotional factor or business factor, which of course is also very nice. But it could also change the market, so that the perception of a product afterwards is different from a lot of people. So like they are maybe surprised at the beginning, but then it's like, oh yes, this was the yacht from Studio F.A. Porsche, and they changed something, and then others maybe followed, or it changed the industry, or brought some kind of, I would say, maybe even cultural impact.
Of course.
Design is more...
You also have huge objects, and lots of people see them.
So I think this is the fascinating idea about design, and this is also the motivation within our team. So doing the perfect thing for the client, but also, of course, for ourselves, because designers are
proud
very
as well.
emotional.
Yeah, of course.
And this is something which always goes into the projects.
For me, there are two things, and the first thing, you're right, so coming to that level of design studios, you're definitely looking for like almost a collector's piece.
Yeah.
So this is something really which helps you to stay out of the crowd and to be really proud of. But the second thing is, which I think is also super important, is that you're creating a yacht which is like a tailor-made suit.
Mm-hmm.
It perfectly fits you. It perfectly fits your expectations, your family lifestyle. So it's designed especially for you. It's not just a statement which you are doing coming to the port of Monaco, but also this is something you feel super comfortable being inside, because just every millimeter is designed for you. This is according to your needs.
Exactly, but I think this is the task.
And it's not controversial.
No, it's not. Because the first thing you mentioned, this piece of art or this iconic piece, of course it's nice to design something like this, but if it stops there, it's really art.
Yeah.
Because our task as designers is always to bring these iconic or new creative ideas into the real life and into the people's life.
Mm-hmm.
And concerning a yacht, it needs to fit to the requirements of the owner. So everything needs to be solved, and there we combine our knowledge with your knowledge, which you have in yacht building, and just build up the perfect experience. So the user scenario, the deck layout, but then combining with the right furniture, with all the things are added into the yacht, so that it's really perfect for the user. And then this iconic piece is accepted, is used, and not just a piece for a museum.
And Henning, can you tell me a couple of words about your background, so your education, how you started, how you get where you are at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm already since more than 20 years with the studio. So I started here not right after my studies, but 2 years after my studies, and I'm industrial designer with a more technical background. So I studied in Germany, in Kiel, which has a reputation for, let's say this, I would say, similar design direction as Studio F.A Porsche. So very German design philosophy, in the tradition of Bauhaus.
Performance-driven,
exactly, technical, very rational. But I always wanted to combine it with a more emotional factor. And I think Studio F.A Porsche is this perfect combination of this. So it has this technical background because we belong to Porsche. Everybody here is designer, but has a deep understanding of technology, of materials, manufacturing processes. So this is something where we are not away from the reality, but still we are seeking for this very emotional aspect. And I think Studio F.A Porsche and Porsche Design as the brand over years combined these two aspects. So having this very technical touch or very technical background, but taking this technical background into the emotional building the emotional aspects out of this technology and not seeing as a counterpart. It's more like the emotion, the luxury approach of it derives directly from the technology. And therefore our customers are seeking this. And also your customers, we discussed this before, the customers of Dynamiq, they are looking for innovation, they are looking for latest technology implementation. And this is exactly what matches our approach. And therefore I think it's a perfect combination of the studio and Dynamiq.
Yeah. I agree with you, and I also like you mentioned emotions because okay, we have quite precise conversation, and of course we can't build a yacht unless we are strictly monitoring schedules and meeting design decision deadlines and all the other deadlines we have. That would be not possible to build within like 2.5 years. But where magic is happening is where really the art is like meeting technology, and I think this is the most complex thing. Because, okay, technology you can somehow measure, you can organize, but you know, you can't organize the passion to design and the desire to make it really look right, because you can't measure that.
No, it's more, it's kind of an intuitive process.
Exactly.
The decisions are also somehow intuitive, but it's interesting over the years that we made the experience that even when a new project starts and you think like, oh, what can we innovate? What can we improve?
Yeah.
There are sometimes products which are nearly, they are developed to the end. So what can we do? And this is even a bigger challenge for us to bring in our intuitive thinking and the creativity and try to reach something there. And it's really hard to explain that.
Yeah.
And also to measure it, it's more like, the measure would be whether the client is fascinated as well, whether he likes it and whether he understands that. So it's not, can't be calculated and measured in a very scientific way, but it's more like the feeling about it, and this is quite good. And at the end, of course, if it works, if it sells, that's how you measure it. But in the process, it's also about trust and our experience, and therefore I think this process needs to be moderated, needs to be explained to the customers, so that they are guided, that they understand what the design is about and what is the benefit of design, so that there's a kind of a respect in both directions. So you respect the customer, his requirements, his wishes, and on the other side, the customer also respects that there is kind of freedom for the design, kind of trust. So I know that there will be a good outcome, and then we get these tasks and the trust of the customer, and then of course we need to deliver, but according to our experience, it's always the case that we deliver. So even though sometimes you're not sure what can be done, there's always a good result.
But do you have like a quality control, if I may ask? So who is the one who is approving this to be presented
actually,
to the client?
Internally, whatever is presented, I officially approve, but it's part of this process. So it's the discussion, and we try, whenever we have junior designers or new people in the team, it's not about improving their skills in designing. It's more like letting them understand that they should be reflecting their ideas and also reflecting other ideas from the other team members, and that there's a super open communication. So it's not about, okay, we need to choose one design from this designer and one designer from this designer. It's just about the content, and everybody here in the team needs to talk open about his opinions about the design. And this is, I think, this honesty in our communication leads to these good projects or these good designs.
But usually when somebody is coming, okay, there is a brief. So you used to present like 2 different design directions, or you used to present 5, or you'd better think that, okay, like 3 is the real maximum. So what's your, how you manage it?
Yeah, it depends a little bit on the project, but a good number is always like 3 designs.
Yeah.
Because 1 is just like an automatic no, maybe,
Yeah,
because it's just where's
yeah.
the choice.
Yeah.
And 2 is just either or. So 3 leads the room for discussion. And what we also do is that we try not to present 3 equal designs in terms of innovation, I would say.
Yeah.
So maybe we present 3 different directions. One is more exactly on the brief, a bit more the conservative, the expected solution.
Yeah.
And then we try to build this up. So to see really, is the direction a much more progressive direction, which the client wants, and then we have a solution for it.
Yeah.
And so that's much better than just showing 3 options and then the client can choose, because sometimes the client doesn't know what to choose.
Yeah.
Depends if it's a company or an end consumer or something. But if you then tell a story and tell what the meaning is about the design and what the let's say how you deal with the design, how you interact, what's the background, how others would react, and how maybe if we do work for a company, how this would position the entire company, then people understand, or the customers understand, okay, if I take this decision, then this is the result. And
the consequences of
this. And this explanation of design is something which I think is super important.
Yeah.
Because then the people also value design and understand their decisions and are more confident about their own decisions. And it's not just, I like it, that's it. And maybe then 1 week later, maybe I don't like it anymore. Or I spoke with a friend and he has a different opinion, so I feel insecure. So whenever, as a designer, you explain it and you tell the story, then the customer buys the story and he doesn't buy the design.
I so agree with you. That's why I'm insisting myself all the time about organizing presentations rather than sending PDFs on the phone, because the first reaction can be really, really strange, because everything should be explained. It's quite a complex thing, and there are plenty of thinking behind every line, usually.
And I think what's challenging is to explain it to different people.
Yeah.
Because like yacht owners are a different audience than maybe a company where the marketing department and a planning team is sitting there. So everybody needs to hear it in a different way. Even maybe it's the same design, but we need to build the stories so that the customers understand the stories.
Yeah. Okay, thanks very much. It was
You're welcome.
very decent conversation, very interesting for me. Thanks a lot.